Welcome to the B2T show, where we empower Christian patriots with truth. This is Rick, your host. All right, here we are on Friday, September 4th, much later than usual for me on a Friday night. But that's the best I could do with some massive hours at work. Really apologize for missing you guys for the last 3 days. But today we are talking about the Democrat monsters. We are talking about some exciting things happen that despite all the chaos, the economy is exploding. We are also going to be talking about arrests and draining the swamp. That's right, draining the swamp. We're going to be talking about that in a big way. President Trump says he's had enough and he wants to drain it now. Here's a funny Garrison cartoon in front of us here. Talk about the Democratic monster. The Democrat monster says it's alive. It's beautiful. It's a two-headed monster. One with Antifa, one that's BLM. They got a bat with nails coming out of it, and one of those flamethrower bombs, whatever those are. On that's a bottle, and then you send Trump saying, but it wants to destroy America. And then the donkey that's holding it, for those of you who are on the podcast, is controlling the two-headed monster, says, yep, and we'll blame it on you. That's exactly what's happening right now. So Ben Garrison, follow him on Twitter and other areas, Facebook, etc. I think you'll enjoy his cartoons. They are awesome. I post them often if you're following me on social media as well. Let me say hi to everybody just real quick. Express Jennifer was on. Looks like Little Red was on first. Thank you for coming on so early. And Express Jennifer and Diane and are there as moderators. Really appreciate that. That is awesome. Let's see. I'm just flipping through here to see if I see any locations real quick to see where everybody is calling in from. Robin from Australia. This worldwide movement just blows me away sometimes. Raleigh, Asheville, North Carolina. Those are three separate places. Or maybe that's Jay Jones and Jan. North Carolina as well, somebody says. Asheville. Talking about more Oklahomas in the house. Gastonia. I'm not sure what they're talking about there. I'm just going through here real quick to see if I can find any more. Hi, Rick, your host. Somebody's laughing at it. Diane making fun of my introduction. There's Reno, Nevada, South Carolina, California, Morro Bay, California. Jason from England's on. Happy Sabbath evening, says Thinker. We got Texas in the house, Florida in the house, Oakland, California, Arkansas, Montreal. Really appreciate you guys. All right, we're going to be digging into this. We had a bunch of new Q posts way back when that I have not been able to go over with you guys. So we'll go over those in a second. I thought my favorite one by far was this one right here, which was 4629, front page of the USA Today, showing that they are enemies of the people. When there's Black Lives Matter destroying cities, Antifa destroying cities, what's their front page about? How QAnon is radicalizing Americans. Conspiracy movement rises out of national upheaval. Like this had anything to do with the national upheaval. No, QAnon was there since October 2017, dudes. So what does Q say? Corrupt, controlled, enemies of the Republic. Q. That's exactly right. But despite all this chaos, what is actually going on? It's really interesting. Let's listen to this little clip from Donald Trump.
It's just out right now. 1.4 million. Unemployment rate falls to 8.4%.
Adding 1.4 million jobs in August. The unemployment rate falling.
8.4% is the new unemployment rate. That was a dramatic drop in the unemployment rate.
Unemployment is, ticking down.
The economic recovery is here. We're on the mend.
A lot more people came back to the workforce.
The jobs are in manufacturing. The jobs are in logistics, business operations, healthcare, transportation, retail sector.
The economy is recovering way faster than any economist thought.
8.4 is certainly a lot lower than I thought we would get the unemployment rate by the summer, lower even than I thought it would be at the end of the year.
Pretty remarkable, especially considering all you hear in the press.
It is moving in the right direction.
It is a very competitive job market.
And hope is rising. I think heading into the fall, that's only going to continue.
1.3 million jobs added to the U.S. economy. Unemployment rate drops from 10.2 to 8.4%. So that is just shows you that the Democrat monster we're talking about of BLM and Antifa, designed to destroy the economy, designed to create fear, is not working. People are seeing through it. People are knowing that this economy and this man is going to be blessed by the Lord. And look what happens. Boom! Highest stock market in many cases, and many of them, as well as a huge job market and reduced unemployment to the point where it's an incredibly healthy economy again. Winning, as Diane Sullivan says. It's like, yes. All right. Want to talk about my sponsor of the show? It is the Multi-Collagen. It's healthwithrick.com. And after 20 years old, your body will naturally decrease its collagen production by 12% each passing decade. This is a leading reason as to why skin appears thinner and more wrinkled as we age. Aging Multi-Collagen provides you with 5 types of collagen your body needs in one complete protein. You'll enjoy powerful support for your body with results you can see and feel in a few short weeks. Get Ageless Multi-Collagen for 51% off plus free shipping by going to healthwithrick.com or by clicking the link that's down below if you're on the YouTube channel. But again, that's healthwithrick.com. You'll see Dr. Matthew Roberts talking about it here and all the studies and a bunch of stats that kind of show you why this blend is awesome. I muscle tested on mine originally and it was awesome. My wife just tested well on it, so we bought like 6 more bags of it. So anyway, I think you'll enjoy that at healthwithrick.com. All right, let's get back to these Q posts here. Corrupt, controlled enemies of the Republic, Q. This is another great way to show the Operation Mockingbird in action, right? Once people start to understand that QAnon is full of people who love this country, full of people who just don't want human trafficking and tortured children, right? And literally want fairness in the world versus a controlled cabal controlling the world. And it's a great way, I think, to start waking up people. And they've moved from ignoring QAnon for the first 2+ years to hit piece after hit piece, so when people searched on it, they would find bad information on it. And now they've moved to front page news and major BBC, what do you call it, documentaries on it. So this is getting really big focus by the media. So that just shows like all over the target or on the target, right? Here we go. Let's look at this. Here, that's example of a corrupt and controlled mainstream media. That's 4629. Now, if you look at this next 4 posts, it's just all about how blackmail is used to control the U.S. politicians. And it really is worth kind of skimming through this bit. But I don't want to spend most of the show on it because you guys can go see it at qmap.pub or qanon.pub as well. I see it. Yeah, I always mess that one up. QAnon.pub or QMap.pub, right? Those are the 2 primary sources I use. I have others that'll flash above my head every once in a while to show you guys the other sources so that you can have backups. But this goes into how is blackmail used, and then it just goes over a ton of Democrat and Republicans who have been literally arrested. So it kind of dispels nobody's been arrested type attitude, right? The Democratic Illinois State Representative Keith Farham has resigned and was charged with possession of child pornography and has been accused of bragging at an online site about sexually molesting a 6-year-old girl. Wow. Democratic spokesman for the Arkansas Democratic Party, Harold Moody Jr., was charged with distribution and possession of child pornography. Democratic Township Board of Commissioner member Phil R. resigned from his position after being charged with possession of child pornography and abusing children between 2 and 6 years old. Democratic activist, BLM organizer, isn't that interesting? Charles Wade was arrested and charged with human trafficking and underground prostitution. Democratic Texas attorney and activist Mark Benavides was charged with having sex with a minor, introducing a child under 18 to have sex, and compelling prostitution of at least 9 legal clients in possession of child pornography. He was found guilty on 6 counts of sex trafficking. Democratic Virginia delegate Joe Morrissey was indicted on charges connected to his relationship with a 17-year-old girl and was charged with the supervisory incident liberties with a minor, electronic solicitation of a minor, possession of child pornography, and distribution of child pornography. Look how much child pornography is in this. It's just sickening if you think about it. But I think this is part of the whole blackmail apparatus. They actually promote people and put people up for office that actually have been caught doing this. That they've caught doing this, I would guess, and or if it's somebody good, they could drug them and get them in. But I think since these are arrests, I think these are well documented arrests. But obviously, Q's linking them back to blackmail. Democratic Massachusetts Congressman Jerry Studs was censured by the House of Representatives after he admitted to an inappropriate relationship with a 17-year-old Paige. And it reminds me of one of the guys that was interviewed and did a lot about what was it, Bob? What was his name on Camelot? I think it was Bob Wood, who had these special remote viewing powers, etc., and they used him in the military. They literally set him up and got him on and had the 17 or 16-year-old actually say they're 20, 18, go have relations and come back, and then they've got him for the rest of the time to keep him under control. So that's another way. There's various ways they use these honeypots and these to get people under control, and or use sick people and promote them, right? Here's a Democratic former mayor, Stillwater, New York. Rick Nelson was plead guilty to 5 counts of possession of child pornography of children less than 16 years of age. Democratic former mayor of Clayton, New York, Dale Keenan, was indicted for several sexual acts against teenager. Democratic former mayor Hubbard, Ohio, Richard Keenan, was given a life sentence of jail for raping a 4-year-old girl. And it goes, here's set up a meeting for having sex with a 14-year-old girl. I'm going to kind of skip through these. Here's another person arrested 4 counts of felony, a 3rd-degree sexual assault of a child, and 1 count of intentional child abuse. And so then most of all of these are Democrats on this first page, but there's a bunch of Republicans too. You're going to see in the second ones. Child molestation of a statutory rape of an 11-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl. Here we go, a 16-year-old boy at a camp for underprivileged children run by the mayor. Oh my goodness. We get with inappropriate sexual contact with a person under 17. And here's another person that child pornography. Here's another person that had a case involving a 15-year-old boy, and when an alleged victim declined to testify, the judge dismissed the case. Here's another one that's resigned amid child pornography allegations. Here's another person, 2nd-degree exploitation of a minor for producing child pornography. And another person placing hidden cameras in the bedrooms and bathrooms at the home he shared with 2 minor female victims. Q. So that's just one of 4 where he's talking about this, how blackmail is used to control us, part 1. And then you have part 2 is 4631. You've got part 3, and you can see this starts getting into Republicans now too. And then you've got part 4. And this is in the interest of time in the show, I'm not going to go over all that. You guys can go look at all these details yourselves. But here's another Republican benefactor of a conservative Christian group. Richard A. Danson Sr. was charged with rape for allegedly paying a 15-year-old girl for sex. Danson, 62, is married with grown children and several grandchildren, has allegedly told police that over the past decade he paid more than $1 million to have sex with a large number of young women. Okay, so guys, this is what's happened. The cabal goes after pastors and people that are in charge of these Christian groups. So, unfortunately, we're going to find within our camp, there's going to be massive, massive corruption. Where would he get $1 million to pay for underage sex? It's really sad when you start seeing that. And here's a Democratic donor and billionaire. Jeffrey Epstein ran an underage sex brothel, obviously, and was convicted of soliciting underage girls for prostitution. So this goes on and on. I'm talking about Anthony Weiner and other people here. But it goes on and on and on. It kind of starts with the Democrats, goes to some Republicans, ends with the Democrats, showing that the corruption's on both sides, but it's primarily where they really have control right now of the Democratic Party after Trump's cleaned up a lot of the swamp. So that is the 4 post all about that, and it is crazy. And but again, the blackmail is the key. This is secret societies using blackmail to control everybody, and having handlers that you don't even know who really given you the instructions. So you never really meet the true person controlling you. You have a handler in between you and the puppet, if you will, right? So you have the puppet master, and you're the puppet, and you have a handler between you, and you have the puppet master. It's a scheme that's been used for centuries, and now they've infiltrated the entire U.S. government, worldwide government, and in all parts of society that we were talking about. The arts and entertainment, the media, obviously. You've got Hollywood, and you've got all parts of the businesses. The key people that own the largest businesses are all in the cabal now. So it is an absolute miracle what we are seeing right now, seeing a outsider take control of the White House with a bunch of generals protecting him, and an apparatus like the military intelligence operation actually the plan interacting what Satan had as the great plan, and basically counteracting that. And we're seeing it fall right before our eyes. As they say, the fall of the cabal. 4634. Why did it take a political outsider to finally confront China? Cute. And we see China was used. I've done reports before earlier showing them Rothschild money being printed like mad there, way more than we print. We print too much money of our fiat currency in the U.S. dollars, but they way produce more. It's a false economy. I remember when I grew up, China, everything in China, everybody was riding bikes. They didn't have cars there. And all of a sudden they become the economic superpower of the entire world. That's not an accident. That is where they decided to infiltrate the United States completely by buying our debt, buying Hollywood up, buying the ports. Remember, they were buying all the ports that Trump put an end to. So this whole massive amount of printing money to create the false economy and manipulating currency to take all our manufacturing jobs away and buy everything up was going to be the death of America, part of the 16-year plan. Interesting stuff we're seeing. Let's refresh, make sure Q didn't post again, but that was 4634. Let's get into some really interesting news. Here it's pretty sad when the third in command claims she was set up by a salon lady. Yeah, I don't see the Dems holding the House in November. Sorry, libtards, but I promise to cherish every single tear you shed for the 2 months after POTUS is reelected. So that is an anon on vote, voat.co. Really interesting set. So it looks like still awakened and needs some prayers there. So lift her up in prayer, or him. I'm not sure what that is. Still awake. But tell you what, this is interesting to see. I'm sure most of you all have seen many videos of Nancy Pelosi in the salon that was released, and it's really interesting to see how she reacted to that, saying, I take responsibility for being set up. What she is like, sly is what she's trying to do, and I guess some on the left will actually take that as okay, even though she shut down. You can't even open up a salon in the entire state unless it's outdoors. So then she goes indoors, number one. Number two, to a studio that basically is closed inside and bankrupting them. And number three is that basically she doesn't have a mask on inside. So a hypocrite all the way, and she got caught on it. It's funny. And here's Garrison's take on it. Got a picture of Nancy with a big, huge hair dryer. It says, "Mask for thee, but not for me." And people are really starting to get it. So the gal that was interviewed on Tucker Carlson last night, I believe it was, Erica, that salon girl, she's got a little happy face with a little America flag on there. Not gonna lie, I wasn't interested in politics at all before Pelosi's hypocrisy, but I'm just seeing the obvious corruption from Democrats. +1 vote for Trump 2020. So this person is a San Francisco salon owner. So she's getting death threats and all kinds of everything. But we see business owners. We talked about the QAnon movement and the Brexit movement with the blacks coming to Trump, and we see the walk-away movement with gays and just all kinds of ex-liberals coming to Trump. And now we see business owners saying that, why can't I open my business, and their families and their friends coming to Trump. So this is actually a huge backfire is what it is. Even though it got people temporarily that were upset, they knew with a good economy, when a good economy is going, the incumbent almost always wins, right? And so they crashed the economy, but now all the economy is coming right back. so that's why Amanda's third horn's probably going to come, right? They had the pandemic to the planned riots, and they're going to have some other massive event. In fact, Amanda's predicting that right before at the peak of the most satanic holiday of the year, and that would be Halloween area, right? 3 days before the election. They're going to try to do another major thing. So we need to be praying against that, please. Pray that their plans will be confused and that we will be able to see, I guess, evil be defeated is what we're really looking for here. And this is interesting to see her account. So if you just click on her account right here, right, and go look at her, she's got some interesting things here. It says, hairstylist, singer, mother of 2 daughters, learning Twitter. And so there she is right here. She's actually obviously a gun owner. And she actually, and I don't know if that's relatively new. She probably went and had to do that for her own safety. But that's what we just saw. But look at this. This is funny. She retweeted this. This just came out a while ago. It says, the next 30 to 60 days will be the biggest draining of the swamp ever. Trump does this in all capital letters. Enough is enough. The time has arrived. So that is September 4th, just earlier today, just a couple hours ago. Trump is saying, again, the next 30 to 60 days will be the biggest draining of the swamp ever. Enough is enough. The time has arrived. And I think what he knows is that maybe based on Looking Glass, maybe based on just this brilliant insight of a genius and the whole military operation, is that this swaying of the public is going to happen, and there is going to be not just Trump reelected, in my opinion, but a massive red wave. I know that was predicted in 2018 by many people, but I really believe we're going to get it this time as we see the awakening happening right before our eyes. And reelect. So here's Donald Trump just putting more stuff out. Here's a Donald Trump shirt with a Trump with a flag on it. A Patriotic 2020 fundraiser. Following all back with notifications on. So this is interesting. This is REUL. Oh, I see. They fooled me. I hate it when they do this. So this is a parody account. So we got to be careful of these parody accounts. And I apologize for telling you guys this. Trying to see is there any problem I'm having out on it. I got somebody trying to call me right now. I think that's. Let me know if I've got good audio. It looks like. Is there any problems? Let me know if there's any problems with the broadcast right now. That was somebody that is one of my followers calling right now, so I'm not sure if everything's up. A parody account, exactly. This is a parody account. REU. I figured that when they were trying to sell shirts and everything. So as you can see how Erica got fooled by that, and I got fooled by that. So I purposely do not follow accounts like this because they can really confuse you. So see, I don't follow them. See, it's not highlighted. So I recommend you don't follow those either. So they spell it right in the big area, but don't on the other thing. So interesting. So but here's the Democratic monster deal that I actually tweeted with. This is Garrison, right? The Democrat monster, right? So follow me and you'll be able to see all Garrison stuff, or find him on Twitter himself. But what's interesting, despite all the chaos, the economy's booming, and also it looks like they're finally letting the police do their job. Like here's a Seattle Police Department in Washington State Patrol just arrested every single car brigade driver from the everyday morning march. Their cars got impounded. And here's a struggle with them taking somebody out of a car and the passenger going crazy. I'm not going to play that because there's so much swearing in it, etc., calling the police and swearing at the police. But looks like they're letting the Seattle Police Department do their job, if this is true. Here we have breaking news. Suspect in fatal Portland shooting is reported killed as officers move in. So I guess the suspect was actually killed. And this person says, the official said the suspect, Michael Forster Reno, 48, was killed during the encounter in Legacy, Washington, Seattle, southwest of Seattle. But what I thought was most interesting, when a federal fugitive task force moved to apprehend him. So there you go. That is interesting. So that it's federal, right? So we heard about Operation Legend, right, where we had over 200 plus Antifa/BLM rioters and anarchists arrested. Now you're seeing them coming in after people that are literally shooting, and so that is good news. I think is that the law and order, despite the Democratic mayors and governors not enforcing the law, the head of the snake, the leaders of Antifa, are being taken out, as well as obviously the massive criminals by federal agents. That is interesting that it was federal agents doing this job, right? Laurel Powell Jobs, Steve Jobs' widow, bought the Atlantic in 2017. She donated at least $500,000 to Biden's campaign in 2020. So look at this. This is Steve Jobs' widow. So you got a basically deep state, big tech money. And again, Twitter, all the weed, all of Saudi Arabia, all the cabal basically bought in and fund these wealthy fake billionaires. They're fake billionaires. That's the Zuckerbergs of the world, the Bill Gates of the world, the Steve Jobs of the world, as well as many others. That obviously Jeff Bezos. The list goes on. And what did she do with her money after he died? She buys a publication called The Atlantic in 2017, and she also gave $500,000, one of the largest donations to the Biden campaign in 2020. And then The Atlantic runs a hit piece on Trump. A coincidence? Not so much. And if you look at it here, you'll see, here's a Twitter talking about Fox. Here's this Lauren Powell Jobs is buying The Atlantic. This is back in July of 2017. You can see, and here is the New York Times talking about, among those who gave Joe Biden's campaign at least $500,000 in the second quarter of this year, Lauren Powell Jobs is number one on the list. Meg Whitman, George Soros, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and James Murdoch. So look at that. And and they didn't do a hit piece from something that happened 2 years ago on Trump when he was in France, quoting that he said something he didn't say, and everybody is coming to President Trump's defense, showing that it's another fake source. That's all there is to it. Here we have John Bolton, who hates Trump and did the book trying to take Trump out, like many people have, but it just, it's like Teflon to Trump. Everything just passes by him and doesn't affect him, just like the prophecy by Mark Taylor says, right? John Bolton rejects Atlantic story. I was there. I didn't hear that. So if even John Bolton saying that, you know it. Here's Charlie Kirk saying the President Trump has personally paid for the funerals of fallen service members. He eliminated the world's deadliest terrorist responsible for the death of countless American soldiers. He reformed the VA for the soldiers who come home from war. I refuse to believe. At The Atlantic. So Atlantic is on the list of all the major fake news publications. You got the fake news media. You have the CNN and the MSDNC, right? which Trump calls it every single time. And you've got ABC, CBS, etc. Right now, Fox News has controlled opposition completely, as you can see by having Donna Brazile and Paul Ryan on the board. These people are as deep criminals as you can get as far as this deep state cabal. And now you've got all these publications, the New York Times and Political, and obviously Washington Post, what Bezos owns, the Amazon Washington Post, as Trump calls it. And now you can add the Atlantic there too. They've always been just one of the big mainstream media hit pieces. And they run a hit piece also on QAnon, believe it or not. So they run a hit piece on Trump. Who's the number 2 most attacked entity besides Trump? QAnon. And that's why we saw that on the board. I'm going to scream through here real quick. So sorry for the scrolling, but I want to get back to that beautiful USA Today just showing the enemy of the people in action, how QAnon is radicalizing Americans. And as Q says, corrupt, controlled, enemies of the Republic. Q. It's exactly what we're seeing here, and we see it from the Atlantic as well. And it's going to be real interesting to see as we move forward on this type of stuff. But here is Praying Medic saying the Atlantic published an article on Q that included half a dozen paragraphs about me after I refused to comment on the record. In it, they falsely accused me of profiting off my YouTube channel, which is not monetized. So how do you profit off a YouTube channel? You are not monetizing, right? So there is that is another false accusation by a fake news media, and I'm glad Praying Medic is calling them out. I texted with him a little bit earlier. He is getting close to the release of book number 2 on the Q movement. So hopefully we'll have him on again when that happens. Let's see. Trump, I don't want my supporters confronting protesters. So there's another interesting deal. It's a Breitbart. I don't like the way they render things on my computer, so and put a big ad up, so I don't usually show Breitbart. Trump, I don't want my supporters confronting protesters. And it's got a little article here, etc. Wow, interesting. The article didn't come back up. I mean, the advertising I hate, but I love to use Chrome. I know people say, hey, use Brave because they don't have commercials up, but no, but look what I can do. See how I can do that with my Mac? I can make the text really big for you guys. So that's why I will continue to use Chrome and my Mac to really, I love how big I can make the text for you guys. During an interview aired on Monday's broadcast of Fox News Channel, Ingram Angle, President Trump stated that he does not want his supporters to confront left-wing protesters and that such matters should be left to law enforcement. Trump also stated that his supporters are good people who can't believe the violence they see in some American cities. So that's just come back to this. QAnon does not support violence, and neither is President Trump inciting violence. Obviously, it's projection. We see perfect projection. Joe Biden is just spilling out talking points of projection. And projection is, the definition of that is when you are guilty of something and you project it on somebody else to deflect from it. The exact crime you're guilty of, you project onto somebody else. That is exactly what we're seeing from Joe Biden right now. And here's another hit piece, as I was telling you about earlier. This is BBC, the basically European cabal controlled media. The real story, why QAnon's going global. So this is they've stepped it up. They've stepped up from many articles per week on hit pieces of so that anytime you search, and their algorithms would keep out articles like Praying Medic writes or videos that I produce or anybody else like me produces, so that all you would see is the mainstream hundreds and hundreds of how it's a crazy theory. But they never talk about the exact real goal of Q, which is a military intelligence operation, a back channel for Trump. They talk about it being, oh my goodness, they take the craziest things out of it and only talk about it. And a fringe conspiracy theory. That's the 1967 invented term of conspiracy theory. Remember, the CIA invented that term to keep people from learning the truth about JFK's assassination. And that same exact PSYOP, they even called it a PSYOP. And that's going to be part of my course that's coming up, where I literally give you guys the facts that you can quickly show people to show how conspiracy theory term was started and how it was used as a PSYOP. And it continues to be used as a PSYOP today. Now, but as people are waking up, when they hear conspiracy theory, now they know, boom, that means the deep state's hiding something, right? So it's backfiring on them when somebody's awakened. But first we got to get people awake. And that's why I tell you, when in my course we'll dig into it, is that in my opinion, you're going to have very little success with anybody that trusts the MSM. Because no matter how convincing you are, if they trust the MSM, Rachel Maddow is going to override you, right? Anderson Cooper is going to override you. Don Lemon's going to override you. Who knows? Cuomo on CNN is going to override you. You've got to attack that first. So if you listen to hundreds of things and watch all these videos and get all these facts and try to document them and go to talk to your loved ones about them, you're going to fail, in my opinion, until you get them off the mainstream media. So that's what we're going to attack with efficiency and documentation that can't be denied, right? And so I'll train you in how to do that here in the course we'll be launching here in the next couple of weeks. I think it's a week from Thursday we're going to be doing the actual webinar on that, but I have a lot of other things going on. So if you're getting some, I really appreciate all of you who've replied to my emails when I'm asking about what we can't miss. Your biggest concern in this course, what is it, right? What's your biggest struggle with waking people up to the truth about the Red Pill movement and the Lord, right? And you guys have given me great feedback, so I really appreciate that. We're digging through all that analysis and sending the emails back in conversation with you. Really appreciate everybody who's participating in this process to make this an awesome program. It's not just a course, it's going to be a program because it's going to have a community behind it where we can practice this stuff together to wake up these people and be a part of the Great Awakening and see fruits of your labor and actually have impact on those that you love. And again, we need to be praying for the people on the left, praying for the people that are brainwashed by the MSM, and we're going to get them off it. And it's going to be a fun process to see that happen with all of your loved ones. It'll take time, effort. It's just like it's just like praying for them to come to the Lord, right? It's planting seeds, but doing it correctly versus getting disrespected so quickly. And then feeling lonely, feeling disrespected. Those are the things we're going to be fighting against. It's going to be a fun way to do that together. Joe Biden asked about Q, says we have mental health issues to believe something bizarre. Of course, he doesn't say anything that's bizarre. He said something about, which I don't even know what he's talking about, all those people in uniforms on a plane. He's talking about one bizarre thing that somebody probably, I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about. But here he is on video slamming Q. Because why? Now that they're doing it, they said, okay, being quiet about it for 2.5 years did not work. Q is growing like mad. Millions of people worldwide. Hit pieces for basically a year. That didn't work. Now what are we going to do? Now they're doing full-on front page news, BBC documentaries, right? Now also purposely, as they stage all the questions for Joe, he has a prepared answer. And his prepared answers to basically just call it, you're crazy, you're insane, and it's bizarre, and wow, we're not like this. This is dangerous. It's just really funny to see him answer this. It says Joe Biden was asked about QAnon for the first time. We are living in their heads rent-free. They are scared to death of us spreading the truth about them and waking people up. That's exactly what we're going to be doing, and we're going to be doing it better and more aggressive as we go forward here. Here's Joe.
Somewhat related topic. What would you say to the supporters of the QAnon, the people who believe in that conspiracy?
See how I asked the question? Believe in that conspiracy. There's the CIA talking point coming right there. This is obviously a staged question.
They think is true about America, that there's sex trafficking and a conspiracy against President Trump. And what would you say to President Trump for not rejecting that conspiracy and the people who believe in it?
I've been a big supporter of mental health. I'd recommend that people who believe it maybe should take advantage while it still exists in the Affordable Care Act. It's bizarre. Totally bizarre. And now, have you guys found that plane load of people in uniforms and weapons and flying around? I mean, have you found them yet?
Plane load of people in uniforms flying around. So let me know down below in the comments or email me and let me know what you think he's talking about. So he says that a couple times, acting like we all believe in something crazy, which I'm not sure what he's thinking. And he's talking about mental health. Here's a man with obvious dementia, clearly slipping in a big way. Can't handle much of anything without having a teleprompter or staged questions. But let's listen to the rest.
Is anybody even from, and by the way, I respect conservative and liberal points of view in the press. Anybody found that plane? What in God's name are we doing? Look at how it makes us look around the world. It's mortifying. It's embarrassing, and it's dangerous.
I thought that was real funny there, where he's talking about what it makes us look bad around the world. Well, this QAnon's a worldwide movement. We have QAnon supporters in every country in the world. And he's talking about it makes us, as in the United States, look bad or something, while he is sitting there supporting BLM and Antifa. We're dangerous. Quite funny.
It's dangerous. If the president doesn't know better, which he has to know better, then my Lord, we're in much more trouble than I ever thought we were. It's bizarre. And, this is a case where, I've been surprised, pleased but surprised, with folks I've had political arguments with, like the former governor of Michigan, coming out and endorsing me. All the Republicans are endorsing me. They're rich where I am. That this can't go on.
And that's what I love. I love all these people that have that endorsed Joe, because they're controlled opposition. They are actually, the cabal is showing themselves to us completely. It's completely obvious.
This cannot go on. It's a deconstruction of a democratic system. They know it. So I just, I'll conclude with what you heard me say many times before. The words of a president matter, even a lousy president. It gives succor, it gives encouragement to people who are spouting irrational views that no one has even close to ever presuming or showing ever existed. And it's done for a simple reason. From the very beginning, he's understood the only way he could win the first time and can win this time is he fundamentally divides the nation. Puts the nation, divides us all at each other's throats. That's not who we are. That's not who we are.
So Joe's speaking his 4 a.m. talking points, obviously, there, which are designed to divide us, as I've talked about from my very first video back in 2017, right, where I was on Facebook Live showing the Rubik's Cube and about how they wanted, this is not right versus left, that's what they want. This is the cabal versus we the people. They cannot have a melting pot of powerful America and have the one world order. They need to destroy us. They need to divide us and have us fight against each other. So the real dividers is the cabal. And they're the ones that give the forum talking points to Joe. So that's projection. You saw it very, very perfectly here. Just like the riots are Trump's fault. Like the Democrat monster says. The Democrat monster of BLM and Antifa are Trump's fault. Not if we know the truth there. America knows the truth. And it's going to become very obvious over the coming months here. Let's look at this here. This is interesting. You'll see Joe talking here. The needle marks on his hand is frightening. So if you look at him on the hand with the microphone, look at that. That is a deep, looks like a pretty obvious needle with the inflamed vein. Right, so that's probably been injected with something, most likely, is what this anon says. The needle mark in his hand is frightening. Let's take a look at it one more time. There it is. That is deep and right by an inflamed vein. Pretty crazy what we're seeing on Joe there. Hey, my other sponsor is Noble Gold. I think I've moved a ton of my stuff into silver. Based upon just the price of it versus what it was when gold was at $1,900 last time. I think silver was up to $47, $48, and now it's at $28 or so. But anyway, any precious metals is a good way to diversify, and you can call 877-646-5347 for Noble Gold. Life has never looked so uncertain as it does right now. Across the U.S., people are being paralyzed into indecision, humming and hawing about everything, feeling flustered and shutting down, avoiding that issue, the money one. But bleak as it might look, there may be a silver or even a gold lining. If you've worked for years before COVID, you could have a 401k sitting around gathering dust, or even an old IRA we could help with, working for your old company when it could be working for you. We're not talking peanuts either. Some plans have thousands of dollars in them. To find out more about unlocking your own hidden treasure, call the team at Noble Gold at 877-646-5347. If that's not enough incentive, Noble Gold are giving away this U.S. Mint owned silver gold 5-ounce $1 Apollo moon landing. Look at this thing. Comes in an awesome box. This is an unboxing of it. We're unboxing this thing. Take this off. Another box here. It's got a actual commemorative thing that tells you about it. And then you unlock this. It's almost like an Apple box. And boom, you open up this awesome coin. This coin is, again, if you open up an IRA and again, you can use your current IRA, etc. usually, and 401k to bring it into, that's what I did. I put a big chunk of mine into silver. Here is the commemorative coin for the moon landing. Thought that was kind of cool. So that is something you can earn. So it's worth jumping on the phone now and calling 877-646-5347. All right, let's get into some more news here before we get into a Mark Taylor prophecy as well. On behalf of the 355,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police, we're proud to unanimously endorse Donald Trump for President of the United States. Hashtag FOP for Trump. So that is, I think, one of the largest unions of police that are supporting Trump, showing again the good versus evil theme coming out pretty quickly. Now this is interesting. Here is Trump talking about something. Let's listen.
His unprecedented economic recovery continues. You see what's going on. It's been pretty amazing. The United States economy added today, announced this morning, 1.4 million jobs last month, bringing the total to over 10.6 million jobs created in just 4 months. That's a record by far. In August, we added 249,000 retail jobs, 174,000 leisure and hospitality jobs, and 29,000 new manufacturing jobs. The unemployment rate plummeted to 8.4%, the second largest single month drop ever recorded, surpassed only by our big decline in June. Last month, we saw large declines in the unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans, very big declines. We're witnessing the fastest labor market recovery from any economic crisis in history.
Pretty interesting, isn't it? So that is the economic boom just continuing here. Bookies bet big on President Trump. And what's going? So now you see actual Las Vegas where people are putting their money down, which when the fake news convinced all the bettors, they had this Biden, but now Trump is at minus 118 versus minus 104. And that means that if you put $118, you'd have to bet to get $100 back from a bet on Trump, and $104 to get the $100 on Biden. And what's interesting about that, so those numbers mean that those numbers mean that a bettor would need to wager $118 in order to win $100 on President Trump. Alternatively, a bettor would need to wager only $104 to win $100 on Joe Biden. This is a reversal from July 28th, when the bettor would have needed to wager $177 in order to win $100 on Biden. In proposition betting, moving from 177 to 104 is a huge stand against Biden's chances to win. So it's interesting to see those wave of change as the Lord takes control of confusing the enemy's plans and waking up his people. Gene is going to be on, we're going to do it Thursday. In fact, we're going to have the Australian decode, which is going to be an awesome decode. I'm so bummed. But I was sick and I'm working massive hours on Thursday night and had to cancel. I think that's going to be moved to Monday or Tuesday. So Monday or Tuesday is when we'll do the next decode on the Australian DUMBs, or the underground bases. So the underground war continues. We'll look for that show on Monday or Tuesday. Here we are. Tragic that a false sense of superiority in the Western world is preventing its citizens early access to life-saving meds. Countries globally that created evidence-based government treatment protocols with early outpatient of HCQ, that's that hydroxychloroquine, especially when you have zinc and a Z-Pack with it, for high-risk patients now have lowest COVID-19 fatality rates. So this is the Crypto Nephilim tweet here. You'll see this. Health officials from China, Korea, India, Taiwan, Malaysia, Bahrain, Turkey, Jordan, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Morocco, Algeria, Nigeria, Senegal, Cuba, Italy, and 65 scientific studies show that hydroxychloroquine is effective when used early against COVID-19. And you can see here is like the United States. You can just see how much we have more than everybody in the world because of all the what I believe is false positives. But and you can see all these other countries that are way down here. Those are the ones that are using hydroxychloroquine. Of course, they are fake news, maligns hydroxychloroquine, and we can't use it. So it's pretty sad when you see that. So that is something that many doctors are coming out, and many studies clearly showing the effectiveness when used early as a treatment. Again, it's basically immune. It can also be used as kind of a vaccine, right? Prophylactic, they call it, I think, where you take it beforehand. So there's many people in hospitals are taking it to prevent them from getting it. President Trump was taking it to get it. I guarantee you that's why Nancy Pelosi doesn't feel like she has to wear a mask. I would guess she's on it as well. But they're keeping it from, just like no mask for thee, but not for me, as we talked about with Nancy. It's also hydroxychloroquine for me, but not for thee, right? That's exactly what these criminals are doing. And it's really interesting. Expose COVID lies, like we seen with CDC recently, reducing death rate to 6%. RT reports up to 90% of people who test positive for COVID barely carry any virus and are not contagious. Bogus COVID stats. So there's more and more information coming out about the fact that we are, that we are seeing the CDC, the FTC, the World Health Organization, with all the patents that are given out, the patent office that are given out, even if you work at a university, has this huge circular scam going on of only expensive drugs being used in our system, charging triple the amount sometimes in the United States for them, and the insurance companies pay it. So you don't know. You just go in and pay your 96 cents for your prescription, but yet the insurance company's paying a ton of money to the big pharma companies, and you have this big circular cycle. And those drugs that we get are treating the symptoms and not the cure. When we have natural cures for almost all this stuff that's being completely suppressed, or generic drugs that are incredibly expensive, like hydroxychloroquine. This is like 30-40 cents a pill, versus Remdesivir, this new big pharma drug, that's $1,000 a pill. $1,000 a pill, 40 cents a pill. Okay, what do you think the big pharma and their media allies are going to do? They're going to malign the generic drug. That's a sad thing. Look at this. Here, speaking of Gene's decode that he did on this show. You can see this is a picture of us talking about it. Recent earthquakes in California and Nevada. This is the Word document that Gene gives me that I present on the show, and we modify as we go. But guess what? This is all in Russian. So a Russian translator took this, and I'll just play part of it for you. Here it is.
Прямо сейчас. На морских подводных войсках. У меня наивысший уровень от сатанистов будет еще более успешным после
So this is basically a translated decode in Russia. There's also one that Gene just did. It was translated down, and I think it was in Portuguese for Brazilians. That was a South American decode there. I believe this might have been the USD code that he was doing in Russia. So as you know, Gene has spent a lot of time organizing a group of coordinators worldwide, and it's amazing. I think he's up to over 20 coordinators now that are nearly as knowledgeable as him, that he's training, so that everybody that needs information, and he's going to continue to grow that team. And it's quite amazing. So he talks about it quite a bit on Backstage. Those of you who have a Backstage pass, join us. You'll get to hear some stories about that. And then obviously if you upgrade to Gene Unleashed, he goes into real deep stuff about what his coordinators are doing. So incredible stuff. We'll be on Backstage tonight. Also, every Monday that the Backstage community is doing a communion. There's a lot of people there with all kinds of different knowledge and deep skills on different things that they're sharing. They'll stay on after my show sometimes for hours, and most of the time for at least several hours. So if you want content and get more and really be part of a community of very red-pilled people, we're talking, you don't want to join Backstage unless you want to go deep into the rabbit holes of this whole red pill movement. But if you do, it'd be the perfect place to have community and get to know a lot of people. I'm looking at some of them right now. Hey, Tim and Kathy, I'm waving to them. See somebody else over there. See who is. Thank you guys for joining me Backstage. They're listening in the Backstage windows now. So we'll join us there after the show is over here, just shortly. New York City restaurants sue Cuomo for $2 billion for refusing to allow the return of indoor dining. So it'll be interesting to see as this turns into a, people really fighting for their rights. That's what we need to do, is fight for their life. So Diane is saying just a few hours and laughing because sometimes it goes 6 or 7 hours. So again, if you want community and Backstage, and join after the show. And you can. The good news is if you don't make them live, it's recorded into the Kajabi platform, and you can watch the recordings of them. Okay. Now sometimes lately I've been having to pull a few down because Gene went all the way to higher levels of Unleashed and shouldn't have done that. Or we're having to edit some of that stuff out. But we're trying to get that all figured out. Gene does a Q&A at least once a week on Backstage as well. There's Mark Dice. Facebook has officially labeled Kyle Rittenhouse a mass murderer. Confirms they are censoring any posts to the contrary, including evidence showing his actions were in self-defense. So obviously, if you've seen that, in my opinion, was self-defense. But here you have the criminal Facebook and the cabal fake billionaire, Zuckerberg. And what I mean by fake is that he didn't earn that to become a billionaire. They basically put him in there as the puppet he is, and now he is censoring the truth, and even taking people's rights away from being able to show and trying to change mass opinion on things. So sad to see how the fake news and the big tech tyrants are trying to control us, but it's not going to work, and that's why we need to focus on getting people off Operation Mockingbird, the mainstream media. I'm excited to work with you guys on that going forward. All right, let me get into a Mark Taylor prophecy in just a second. I wanted to show you this latest thing from Garrison. And it has a 4-quadrant thing of a timeline saying here is like all these frogs saying Russia, 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 Russia. And it's got Hillary, and you can see Nancy Pelosi and Obama, and it looks like that's most likely Brennan and Joe and a bunch of other the Democratic colleagues all saying Russia, 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 Russia. And then all of a sudden, what happens next? There's no evidence, the Mueller report says, that Trump colluded with Russia. And then all of a sudden, everybody's quiet. All the frogs are quiet. And then a little bit later, Russia, 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 Russia. They're all saying Russia again. So they're all saying Russia again some way. So anyway, hey, so you see somebody's asking about how do I get on Backstage. You just go to blessedteach.com, and you'll see right here, you can go to Backstage right here, and that's where you can join. And you just say join with Rick. And again, it's 25% off the monthly fee at down to $14.77 a month, but you can actually get that down all the way to $8 a month. So it's another 45% off to 25% if you do the year in advance. And also here, this is where you'll be able to see the courses and get on the waiting list if you want to get on that for what's going to be launched in a couple of weeks. And then also you want to go to contact us. That's where you can send me an email. And the bottom of the page has my email as well as a P.O. box, as well as a Patreon and PayPal. I really appreciate everybody who's helped me there. It's got my backup channels here, the BitChute channel, all at the footer of the page. But it's a brand new website. This is where you'll get your show notes. If you want the source information to see everything I'm showing you, it's really nice. You can actually get it there. So every morning U.S. time, you can get an email and be able to play the video and have all your show notes right there. So it's a new way to kind of enjoy the show and not have to go search for me because you can just get it based on your show notes to get delivered to you each night. All right, with that, let me get into a Mark Taylor prophecy and we'll wrap this up. We have got the Spirit of God says, and you know, guys, just because I am a little bit under the weather, I'm going to skip the prophecy and go right into, just realize we've burned up the whole hour. I'm going to go into and focus on the Bible verse instead, and we'll do this prophecy probably tomorrow. Philippians 4, 6, and 7, literally my favorite. I know I've got the 68 verses or whatever. If you go to BibleMemory.com and you can see the group called Blessed to Teach, blessed with the T-O this time, while the website's blessed with the number 2. But anyway, this is the favorite of all my verses. I've literally prayed this over somebody who literally got healed. It's just something that was, when I first memorized this, it was just such an inspiration to me to not worry about life and let God take care of things. Because what does it say? It says, do not be anxious about anything. That's a pretty big statement. Do not be anxious about what? Anything. But in every situation. How many situations? Every situation. By prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Wow, that's Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Do not be anxious about anything. I wish they'd let me make this bigger in the notepad, but they don't really do it. I'll just make it a title, so it'll be huge for you guys so you can see it down here better. So again, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. So if you want the peace of God that transcends all understanding, even in a time like this, because remember, the opposite of faith is fear. Don't fall into fear. We need all of the remnant. We need all of the army of God. We need all of red-pilled Christian patriots to be in faith right now as Satan's attacking. Coming up on Halloween, they're going to be spells, etc. We need to be fasting and praying against their plans of the evil one. But you know what? We do not have to be anxious about anything. But in every situation, like this situation here that we're dealing with in the next couple months, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, we can present our request to God, and we will have the peace of God that transcends all understanding. And our hearts and our minds will be guarded in Christ Jesus. Wow. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for your promises in Philippians 4, 6, and 7. And I just pray for that peace that transcends all understanding to everybody that's listening to my voice right now. Lord, allow that peace to come over them. Allow them to understand that they can have this in every situation. And they don't have to be anxious about anything. And instead can turn that into faith and turn that into a powerful prayer and a powerful relationship with you that will give them that peace that transcends all understanding. I pray that on everyone who listens to my voice right now. Thank you, Lord, for your word of God. Thank you that we can come to you with the living word of God anytime we would like. May we be in the word of God as we understand how you want to use us in these times, to wake up our friends and family and our loved ones, to be a digital soldier, to be a prayer warrior. How do you want to use us? Maybe it's in all those areas, Lord. But how are you going to use us after this gets cleaned up? That's even more exciting question. And we're looking so forward to understanding that with you. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Really enjoy this. Even when I'm feeling under the weather like this a little bit, I loved coming on here. And we're talking about Democrat monsters aren't going to make us anxious. In fact, it's just going to give us more faith as we see God do mighty things here over the next few months. I love you guys. Join us backstage if you have a pass. We'll catch you next time. You've just listened to the Blessed Teach Show. You're now empowered with the truth. Don't miss the edited short B2T clips on a new channel called B2T Clips. A big thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and PayPal. You are truly appreciated. For the links to these sites, as well as links for show notes, Backstage with Blessed to Teach, training courses, and more, visit blessedtoteach.com. That's blessed with the number 2, teach.com. God bless, and be sure to go empower others with the truth.